you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I have in the studio one of my favorite guests, Mr. Anthony Graves. As you might know his story, he was on death row for 18.5 years, and he was exonerated. He was actually found to be innocent and was able to pursue his life and get your case expunged, I guess.
Yes, well, I can get it expunged, but I don't want to get it expunged now because I'm still going through some proceedings, some legal proceedings, and if I get it expunged, then no records are wiped away, and I'm going to need them while I'm grieving against this prosecutor.
That is absolutely true. You know, that's interesting that you said that. I want Anthony to talk tonight and educate the community about the criminal justice system. I'm going to start off so we can kind of take it in order by letting him tell you maybe give about 10 minutes of his story, background story, and then I want to focus on some of the areas that we didn't focus about when he was on the show last month. But I want you to understand his story. He's become very famous. He speaks all over the country. He's an advocate for justice for innocent people who are incarcerated and falsely accused. He has a lot of exciting programs that he's working on with his Anthony Graves Foundation that'll come up with his name after when his name comes up on the marquee. So we're going to first talk about his story, and then we'll get into some of the exciting things he's doing to try to help people in the community, also to educate and to make sure no one else who is innocent stays on death row for 18.5 years like he did. This is his life's work. So Anthony, thank you so much. I have a little cold, so please excuse me tonight. And I'm getting over a cold. But Anthony, please tell us your story again.
Wow, yeah, my story was that back in 1992, a horrible crime had taken place in a little town called Sommerville, Texas. 6 people were murdered, a whole family. They were shot, stabbed, bludgeoned to death, gasoline poured all over their bodies, house burned down in an obvious attempt to cover up the crime. There were 4 little children under the age of 10. There was a 16-year-old granddaughter, and there was a grandmother. This town had become outraged because nothing like that had ever happened before. And they wanted the person or people who had done that to pay. Matter of fact, the mayor of that small town come out in the paper the next day and said that whoever done this case didn't even deserve a trial. They should just be caught and hanged. Well, that's how they pursued the case, okay? That so a guy showed up with burns all over his body, bandages at the funeral the week later. He became a person of interest to them. So when the funeral was over, they followed him home. Asked him if they could talk to him. Come to find out, he was the father of one of the children who were murdered in the fire. So he agreed to talk with them, and they took him to the DPS office. Well, after over 14 hours of intense interrogation, still today nobody knows what was all said. But they had ended up telling him that if he would give the name of someone who did the crime with him, they would let him go. They just wanted the other person. So this young man who thought he had just seen me previous, coming off the feet of a highway in a little Jeep, decided to just call my name. And he called my name, and they wanted a story. He gave them like 7 or 8 different stories that night. So they knew he was lying. All right? But then when they finally coerced him to give a story that fitted their theory, they arrested him and charged him with capital murder, and within hours, that was a knock at my door. But it wasn't.
Now, were you in Sommerville or were you somewhere?
No, I was in Brenham, Texas. Okay, Brenham, Texas is like an hour, 40 minutes away. Right? And when the knock came at my door, it was my neighbor. And it was a Sunday morning. I'm up and I'm getting ready to, I thought, head to Austin. And my neighbor, when he knocks on the door and I answer, I said, "What's up, Mike?" He say, "Hey, man, the police looking for you." I said, "Why? Police looking for me for what?" He said, "I don't know. They didn't tell me. They just asked was that your car out there." So, I told him I appreciate it. And I decided, well, if the police looking for me, I'm always at my auntie's home. So if they looking for me, they would definitely go by there. So I got on the phone, I called my auntie. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, Mike just told me the police was looking for me. They been down there?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, why the police looking for me?" She said, "I don't know. Why don't you call them and see?" So I said, "Better yet, I'm just going to put my shirt on. I'm going to walk downstairs, and I'm going to look for the police because I'm curious,
Of course.
But I tell people all the time at this point, don't ever go looking for the police, okay? Let them find you, all right? Let them be about their business and find you, because here's the deal. I went downstairs looking for the police out of curiosity, and it took me 18 and a half years and 2 execution dates to come back home, okay? Because when I got downstairs, my worst nightmare was awaiting me. This police officer pulls up. I stop. He asks me my name. I tell him. He asks for ID. I show it to him. He got this perplexed look on his face like he knows I don't know what's going on. So he tells me that he had to take me to the station, that some officers wanted to talk to me. And I say, "Oh, could you tell me why?" He said, "No, but the officer down at the station, they'll talk to you when you get there." By this time, Mike came downstairs, and I'm telling him, "Hey, Mike, this officer said I have to go to the police station for something. My mom is on her way home. Could you let her know and just tell her I should be right back?" As I said, it took me 18 and a half years to come back, okay? When I got down to the police station and they put me in the booking room, and they just got me sitting there, and it's like 15, 20 minutes going by. Nobody said anything to me. Now, I'm supposed to be a suspect of a murder, of a heinous crime, and I'm just sitting in the police station. I'm not handcuffed or anything. I'm just sitting there. And so I started asking the police, "Hey, could somebody tell me why I'm here?" And they just kept telling me, "Hold on, some officers going to come talk to you." So about 20 minutes later, 4 officers and a magistrate comes in. They're Texas Rangers. They ask me my name, I tell them. Then they ask me to stand up. When I stand up, the magistrate starts reading me my rights. And I'm just sitting there. I'm standing there because I don't know where we're going with this. But I'm bracing myself. But I definitely never thought that he was talking about capital murder. I thought this was a ticket, something, something small. And she said, "You've been charged with capital murder." And there's a documentary called Grave Injustice that they did on me that we won an Emmy for. And in that, it has the footage of my initial reaction.
Oh, it was on video?
When they told me to see, here's the thing, they hid the video from us during trial. We didn't even know about the video.
So the video never came up in the trial?
The video never came up in
But there was
trial.
a video?
But there was a video.
In the
intake
station?
video.
Where was it all
Yes.
that time?
Just so happened after 18 years, we found it.
Did Kelly Siegler find it?
I think Kelly Siegler, she had it as well.
So that means the prosecutors from the prior case had it?
they
The
had
same one that's in trouble?
Yes, they had it. And they withheld this. And this tape shows you my initial reaction when they say you've been charged with capital murder. I know nothing. Nothing. And it's just my whole body language. Just anybody that watches that, they always tell me, "My God, it's so sad to me because you knew absolutely nothing." No, I didn't.
And that didn't even come up in the trial?
Didn't
Your
come up in the
lawyers were never
trial,
even
no.
provided that?
My lawyers, this was their first time ever trying a capital case.
But I'm just telling you, I've tried several, and I've been a lawyer a long time. I wouldn't ask for a video in the police station. I wouldn't even know they had one, because you don't know where they are. I mean, there's a blanket discovery motion that asks for all videos. But if a prosecutor says this is all we have, I wouldn't know there were more. You know what I'm saying? How would you know? I mean, I know now.
Yeah, it's always an intake video, okay? And they hid it. But when it come to light, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this man didn't know anything." Because I was like, "What, me? I'm sitting there thinking you finna tell me something about a ticket. And you talking about capital murder? I don't even live my life like this, So they asked if they could talk to me. Of course, I agreed. Because I'm cooperating 110% because I'm innocent. And I just want the truth to be told so I can go home. I got plans,
Right. You're on your way to Austin.
I'm on my way to Austin. I got plans. And, this this cat and mouse game with them went on. They interrogated for me like 14, 15 hours, okay? Until at the end of it all, a Texas Ranger walked up to me, looked me squarely in my face, and this was the lead investigator. And he says to me, and it's something I'll never get out of my mind. He said, Mr. Graves, I don't believe you did it. But if you don't give me something on Carter, we're going to put this whole thing on you. And if you're innocent, like you say you are, then just don't let no grass grow in your grave. Now get him out of here. And I looked at this officer. I said, so I have to go to jail for something I didn't do. And he just turned and walked away. And then they started playing the good cop, bad cop on me, twisting my arm like they're going to break my arm, like they're going to beat me up. They're taking me out in the hallway. And this guy just got me all on my tiptoes because he got my arm so far up my back. And then the other officer walks out of the side and try to stop him and tell him he'll take me, like he's the good cop. By this time, I'm crying now because I'm frustrated because this man sitting here, you know, assaulting me. I don't know, I haven't done anything to anyone, but they're assaulting me, and I'm thinking to myself, I know if this dude didn't have no gun, he was just a regular old, big old a country boy on the street, I'll beat his ass for what he's doing to me, okay? So I'm really frustrated because he tested my manhood,
right?
And here I am, I'm innocent.
Right, but so yet he has all the law enforcement officers right there, and the guns.
And they have big guns, all right? And they don't just kill cars, like Richard Pryor say.
Right.
They kill, you know. Mm-hmm. So, This went on for 2.5 years. I stayed in jail, waiting trial, begging them, please take me to trial. Because, you know, I thought that we had the greatest system in the world. This is what I was taught in school. So if I could just get to trial and tell the truth, I'd go home. How naive was I? Because that's not the game up there. The game up there is to win, and to win at all costs. See, because in Texas, we are tough on crime, which give us a green light to convict at all costs. Taking shortcuts, hiding evidence, threatening alibi witness, whatever we have to do to convict because we are Texas and we are tough on crime, right? Just changed the whole landscape of our criminal justice system when we came up with that motto because it was just a green light to take shortcuts, right? And that's what they did with me. They withheld evidence, they threatened my witness, they perjured themselves on the witness stand. All that to seek a conviction against someone that they had every right to believe was innocent. And they end up sending me to death row. I spent 12.5 years on death row, solitary confinement, execution dates. I witnessed over 350 men getting murdered right there in front of me. Guys I would talk to 12 hours before their execution date who would sit there and cry and say they didn't do things and only to go out and be executed. Why would a guy be lying to me? This is his last breath he's taking. Why would he cry in his last breath saying he didn't do this? You know, he could have just thrown his finger up at the world knowing he's going out. But here's the man trying to tell you that he's innocent. And the state say kill him.
Did some admit that they did it?
A lot of them admit that they did it. See, there's this myth that goes on that every inmate claimed that he's innocent. That is a bunch of B, okay? I met guys down there that admitted what they did and was remorseful. I met guys down there that admitted what they did and was not remorseful. Guys that I knew I would never want to see in my neighborhood, okay? But guys that I knew were mentally challenged, that it was sad that they didn't need to be here, they needed help. And guys that was just straight up innocent. I met them all.
Wow, how could you tell the difference?
Well, you just tell the difference by character. Mm-hmm. And then you find out about facts, because you read, you know.
Right.
This is the same fight we all have. So if there's any new law passed down in his case that could help me, I want to know. So you case search and you read about things. And it's like you reading these cases and you realize, man, they don't have nothing on this guy. But they're going to kill him because he didn't have no good attorney. He had no resources. He MHMR. He can't read, can't write. He couldn't even help himself. And the state say he's competent to be executed now.
Right.
I seen so much of that. Guys, I'm talking about couldn't even put two sentences together. But the state said they was competent to be executed.
Did you notice if they were mostly from small towns?
A lot of them was for small towns and Harris County.
Oh, a lot from Harris County?
Oh, Harris County and Dallas.
County?
Dallas, Fort Worth area. Those are the two largest populations down there.
What about Bexar County, San Antonio?
Bexar County as well. They're about the third largest. They're right behind Houston and Dallas. But then, you know, you have some small towns, not many, because a lot of small towns can't afford to push for a death penalty. They don't have the finances. But you meet more people in the cities because they can afford it. You know, so you have a big population of Harris County, a big population of Dallas-Fort Worth, a big population of Bexar County, and then a lot of other small counties just fill in the spaces. Yes,
Wow.
that's what it is. We have I guess they've created this, what is it, like a independent, where they go and they take these cases in these small counties. Like it's
Is it the
250
prosecution
counties.
that does it, or the
No,
defense?
they built this entity that represents all these counties.
I know there's one that's called the Texas Defender Service.
That's what I'm talking about. But not in Austin. They have one out in West Texas.
Right.
And it covers all these small areas, right? But you have to understand something. In these small towns, there are not many death sentences.
Right.
But the way their grant is written up, they can't go into a town that has at least 300,000 people. So you're talking Harris County, all the major county cities, they can't go into and help. So what good is that? Because most of the cases are coming out of these major counties.
Right.
Out of Harris County, Bexar County, and Dallas and Fort Worth. But this entity that's supposed to be representing all these counties somehow wrote up a grant that says they can't get involved in big cities.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But that's where all the cases are happening. So how are you fighting?
Well, the policy behind that's supposed to be the big cities already have the public defender's office are very competent lawyers, because the concentration, like if Texas has 50,000 lawyers, 20,000 are in Harris County. So we have all the lawyers, us in Dallas County. So they feel like there's so many lawyers they can appoint that are competent to do it, and no competent lawyers are living in the rural counties. So that's why the grant was written, to try to equal the playing field.
Well, I think that's just hogwash, because the biggest populations are coming from the cities that are on death row, and you have a system, an indigent defense system down here, only takes 6% of the cases in Harris County, so they're not even effective because they're underfunded. So how can they really help? You know, if they're only taking 6% of the cases.
Right.
I mean, 94% of the cases just still going to public defense.
And let me tell you what the deal is. I have one capital murder that's appointed pending, and it's so frustrating because you can't get the resources.
Can't get resources.
And so you end up working so many hours for free, and your health, you know, is diminished. Like mine, I'm sick now because, you know, you have to work so many hours to try to make some money and then try to work on this case. And so it's only so many years your body can take that.
Yes, and I noticed that to be a big problem, which is why I created my foundation, and which is why I created this project to get involved in cases at the initial stage of the arrest. Provide resources for attorneys. Okay, fair up the process. That's all I'm asking. And the way you fair up the process is you provide resources at the beginning, so that no one has to go through 18 years talking about he's innocent. You can catch that at the beginning, and it saves us a lot of money on the back end.
I love your foundation. Let's talk about what you're trying to do a little bit more. We have a caller. Caller, thank you for calling Truth and Justice for Vivian King. Please turn your volume down on your TV and ask your question.
Okay. Yes, I would just like to recommend the young man. Well, it's because we want a lot of computers. I'm sorry. He's very, very. He has a. I'm trying to say is he has a statement for a young boy that's locked up, innocent, and I would just like to recommend him. That's a living testimony that he went through. And I'm glad he's out, and I'm glad he's.
Thank you.
Were you able to turn your volume down? Because we're hear echo. Is your volume down on your TV?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just hear an echo. So your statement is that he's a testament to young men that he made it out. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? God is good, isn't he?
God is good. If it had not been for him.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you keep on doing what you do.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now tell me, Anthony, 18 and a half years is a long time. Now, tell me how you survived I think 14 years you were on death row.
12 and a half.
12 and a half. Okay, tell me how you survived that. You were in isolation. About how big is the...
8 by 10 cage, okay? We don't even call them a cell. They're cages.
Wow.
It's the same thing you put an animal in.
Wow.
They're cages. And we was in an 8 by 10 cage, totally separated from each other. No television, no telephones. You just behind 4 walls waiting to die. That's
For 12 years.
For 12 and a half years. You just sit there.
So what did you do all day?
Cried, went to sleep, cried some more. No.
I'm sure you did a lot of that.
Yeah, I did a lot of crying, but see, what the thing with me is, being that I was innocent, I was naive to believe that you can't kill me. So I just have to wait it out until I go home because I'm innocent. But I seen all this around me, guys with little to no evidence on their cases, guys 20, 21, 25, getting executed. Wow. I mean, just a healthy, living human being, 23 years old.
Tell me about this 23-year-old. It seems to be bothering you.
Well, it's just that I watched a young guy come down there at the age of 17.
He came at 17?
He came at 17. His name was Napoleon Beasley. And Napoleon had never done anything other than excel in school and excel in sports. Okay?
Where was he from?
He was from a small town East Texas. This young man decided to get with his friends and they're going to go joyriding, and under peer pressure, they're going to steal a car. So they put him up to do it. He ain't never done nothing. This young man is, I'm telling you, come from a very good family. But he make a mistake for 5 minutes in his life. And I'm going to tell you what he did. He went out to steal a car. And while he was trying to steal a car, the man walked out of his house. Scared Beasley. Beasley turned around and shoot. Not to kill him, but to get away. Okay? This is a 17-year-old kid, all right, whose mind hasn't fully matured yet. So in his mind, he's going to get away. He shoots this man, takes out running. This man ends up dying.
Oh, my God.
And the man is a federal judge dad.
Oh, my God.
Okay? Now, when Napoleon Beasley came down, that was this big outcry about juveniles being executed. And we shouldn't be doing that because their minds hadn't fully developed yet. They're still impressionable kids. Napoleon Beasley was just that. But I watched this young man come down there and was so remorseful because he realized what he did was out of his character. But he was so remorseful that he reaching back trying to talk to other kids about what he did to try to keep them from going down that path.
How did he do that from prison?
Just writing letters to people, probation officers, asking them if he could communicate with their client, writing a reformatory school, just reaching out from behind bars, trying to make up for what he had done. And the state of Texas still said that was not good enough. I watched this man change young boys' life from behind bars, made them put down their flags and pick up a book because of his own experience. And Texas said that's not good enough. And they executed this young man at the age of like 23 to 25. And right after they execute him, that's when they passed the law
that we can't kill our kids.
We cannot kill our kids. But he was the poster child. And they wanted to make an example because he killed a federal judge's dad. And right after, that's when the Supreme Court ruled. So they held out until they was able to execute this young black man who had killed a white federal judge's dad. He was only 17.
Wow, and the remorsefulness of it is what's so important. No one asked him to do it?
No one. I was so impressed with this young man because I seen him getting back up.
Right.
You know, and they always say it's not how many times you fall that makes you, it's how many times you get back up. And I seen this young man getting back up and reaching out. This is on his own, based on his upbringing. And you've seen it in this young man.
So he's calling it, he's writing probation officers.
Yes.
He's writing, who else?
He's writing probation officers. He's just writing to kids in reformatory schools. You know, what if he reads the papers and he sees something going on with a child and he can get an address to write, he reaches out. And nobody's asking him to do that. And he wasn't trying to do it because he's trying to trick the system. This young man was truly remorseful. And I watched this. and this young kid growing up trying to give back, they took his life.
Now tell me, in the trial of someone losing their life like that, somebody that life was important, what do you think a just punishment would have been for him?
Well, I think just punishment would have been for him that he get a prison sentence. I can't say how long, because I do believe that people can change. But I do know that he gets a prison sentence, and there are some conditions. And the conditions is what he was doing. You have to really reach out. You have to really start trying to build your life back up. And we're going to provide you with the tools to do so. And once we feel that you're at that point, then we'll talk about parole.
And, you know, politics is so great. If a child creates a program on his own in prison without being told to do it,
Yes.
and we don't have a system of compassion to where we could give him clemency. But just think politically. You're out of prison now. You're starting to learn about the politics of things now. You'll learn a lot more as you progress with this.
You learn a lot about him down there.
Right. But just think, if he had not been a federal judge's dad, it's possible that he would have gotten a commuted sentence.
It was too many people behind. It was an international community behind this young man, because they knew that this young man mind hadn't fully developed when he created this crime. I'm talking about international support. This man was the poster boy for juveniles. And Texas decided, because we're tough on crime, we're going to make an example out of him. And then we'll go along and we'll stop killing kids. Yes. And this young man, I say, this young man should be out here today.
Working in a foundation like yours.
Working on a foundation like mine, trying to help these kids, because he understands. I seen him doing it back there. What knows? It wasn't that he was trying to put on a good show for a possible parole.
Because he didn't have parole. Possibility for parole.
Okay, he wanted to give back. He said that if they kill me, then at least I want my legacy to be that I was trying to give back.
Wow.
This is a young man talking to me.
So this is a young man who's not denying what he did.
No.
He's admitting what he did,
Yes.
but realizing it was a stupid mistake. I was trying to get away, and I killed somebody.
Yes.
Wow.
I killed someone.
Were there other people with him?
It was, I think it was two of his other friends.
You think they testified against him, or what happened?
I think
Were they on death row too?
No. You know how they go.
Oh, I know.
Those who testify gets off.
Right.
All right.
Right.
If the guilty testify against the innocent, the guilty go home.
That's right.
Okay, that's just the way our system is. Those who testify first get the break.
They get the break.
And obviously they testified against Napoleon. I never seen them down there. Okay, but Napoleon was executed.
Let's talk about your foundation and some of the things. Let's talk about the 3 awful things that happened in your trial that you want to work to correct in this system. Let's talk about your girlfriend that was with you that was scared not to testify. Let's talk about the actual defendant that actually did the killings, wife who they charged and put him in that bad position. I want you to tell the viewers about that again, and generally why you want to do this foundation and to correct what happened to you. So tell us what happened to you in your trial.
You know, when they came and arrested me, and we was all, it was going through the whole interrogation thing, I always told them where I was and who was with me. So they knew that I was telling them my girlfriend was with me. So they went and talked to my girlfriend. And she told them at the time, I was with him. This is what we did. This is where we were. This is where we laid. The whole thing. Kind of embarrassing, but she told everything because she had to.
Yeah.
So for 2.5 years, they never bothered her. 2.5 years, never said not one word to her. So it's my trial now. And she has already come to trial, took the oath to testify, went back into the witness room. By the time we got ready to call her to the stand, the prosecutor jumps up and asks the judge to excuse the jury while he put some on record. So the judge excused the jury, and the prosecutor went on to say that my girlfriend had now become a suspect, and should she testify, it's highly likely that they're going to seek an indictment of capital murder against her as an accessory. Okay? Just making things up. As an accessory.
They have no evidence on her.
No evidence.
They don't have any on you.
And so my attorney, being inexperienced, says, well, Your Honor, she doesn't have an attorney. I need to go and tell her that, you know, because he thinking that this is all in good faith. So he goes back there and tells her what the prosecutor just said. She becomes hysterical and she runs out crying. Because later she said, hey, look, my boyfriend been in there for 2.5 years and I know he was innocent. And now they're talking about they're going to come after me if I come in there. She was 22 at the time. So she took out. Never wavered, but they scared her away. And then the prosecutor goes to the jury at the end and says, well, where's his girlfriend at? Why she wasn't here to testify? Made them think I was lying and I get convicted. Those were the games that were played on me. So
Did you testify?
I never testified because my attorneys always say, well, we're going to decide whether or not you testify when we get to trial.
You know,
And never brought it up again.
I think that is so egregious. An innocent person should always testify.
Never brought it up again because they just felt like, you know, we don't even have to put nothing on. They don't even have a case against you. They have nothing. So my attorneys then relaxed a little bit. But you can't do that.
No.
You know,
If my clients tell me they're innocent, even though just saying not guilty is enough, I want them to convince me I want them to convince that jury just like they convince me.
Exactly.
Especially if they have nothing to hide.
And
if I really believe them,
from day
you
one,
got to.
I have nothing to hide.
Right.
Put me up there. I have nothing to hide. I'm not a criminal. I have nothing to hide. And they decided not to put me up there because they felt like the state never had a case.
And there are lawyers that have that philosophy.
Yes. And so I was wrongfully convicted. And then, matter of fact, one of the jurors said, I never believed that Mr. Graves was guilty, but his attorneys were so boring that we felt that if we convicted Mr. Graves would get a new trial and he can get new attorneys. They played Russian roulette with my life.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
This is what the jury said.
That's stupid. Let's take a call. Caller, please turn your volume down and speak into the phone. Volume down on the TV and speak directly into the phone. Thanks for calling.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Jesse Patrick. Jesse Patrick. I have a grandson in SDL unit. He's been locked up about 30-some years. They gave him life, and he didn't do the crime. They went against him, and I just pray to the good Lord that he will walk out one day. Yes, he didn't do the crime. They got him still locked up.
God bless you, ma'am. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope that you participate in the system by voting, knowing who the judges are, making sure everybody in your family goes to those polls and votes for judges who are going to be fair and impartial.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, very important. It is so important. We have to vote.
Yes, we do.
Okay? We can no longer be on the sideline with this. The vote is important.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for watching, and we'll take the next caller.
Thank you.
All right, next caller, you're on. Please turn your volume down on the TV and talk directly into your phone.
Yes, my name is Beulah Reeves, and I'm calling regards of my son, Arthur Berry Burden. He was charged of a case that he did not do. They gave him 42 years. He's been locked up 17 years. And I like help, please, if I can get some help.
Well, God bless you, ma'am. This show is not to help but to educate, but you're welcome to look at the credits that roll at the end and email if you want to tell your story on the show so we can educate people, figure out what went wrong, and try to educate people about the criminal justice system. God bless you. Do you have a comment?
No, you're absolutely right. You know, you can pick up the phone and call, and you can tell us all day about what's happening. But in order to make change, you have to get involved. You have to vote. You have to know the judges. I mean, you just have to be vigilant in this fight. If not, then it's going to continue to happen. Your son is just, I'm sorry to say, but it's just one of so many cases I hear about where someone has been wrongfully convicted and a young man I was with last week in New Orleans, he got out, he spent 44 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit.
Wow.
Okay? So these stories happen all too often, and that's why we can no longer afford to be on the sideline with this when it comes to our justice system. We have to get involved, and you have to understand when it comes to politicians, we are their bosses. And if we don't like what they're doing, we can vote them out.
Yes, sir.
But you have to understand that. We do have that power. We have the power of a vote.
And you're welcome to get in touch with me afterwards, and I'd love to tell your story. Thank you for calling, and continue to watch. Hopefully you can learn about it, and we'll take the next caller. Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.
Caller, you're on. Please turn your volume down and speak directly into the phone.
Yes, this question is for Mr. Graves. Mr. Graves, what advice would you give someone who's willing to testify but has been, they're afraid because of they have already been threatened?
Wow, I'm glad you asked that. That is what my program is about. My program is about getting witnesses representation so they feel empowered to come forward. Too many times, a lot of people end up wrongfully convicted because the witness is scared to come forward because they've been threatened. We here at the Anthony Graves Foundation have designed a program to where when someone who is a witness has been threatened, they can call us and we will try to get them an attorney to represent them so that police officers can no longer threaten them. That is our program there. And it is much needed. I was just talking to a former governor yesterday about this program, and he excited that finally someone is understanding that representation has to be extended to those that are being threatened out there. So thank you for your story, and it is just, your story is the reason why Anthony Graves Foundation has designed this program to get involved at the initial stages.
And when Anthony's name comes up, his foundation's website is up there. You can contact him. At the end of the show, my website comes up too, vivianrking.com. You can contact me also if you want to tell your story, because that's one of the things that Mr. Graves is planning on doing, and I'm going to help him to the best of my ability and try to get other lawyers to help in that program too. We're working on it right now. But you make sure you testify though.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things that you can do, if you're being threatened, you need to document that. You need to document what the police officer's name is, the prosecutor's name is, what number they're calling you from, if it's caller ID. You need to put that in writing, and you need to send that to their police chief, certified mail, return receipt requested. You need to send that to the district attorney's office. It's actually illegal. It's a crime called tampering with a witness.
That's right.
If me as a defense lawyer representing Anthony Graves went out and talked to witnesses and told them, you better not testify or you better not lie about your testimony, they will file charges on lawyers for that. But when the lawyer is the prosecutor or the police officer, no charges gets filed. Also because we sit on the sidelines and we don't make sure these charges are filed, because we let people do what they want to do, as we say in our community, instead of making sure your police chiefs are accountable, making sure your mayor is accountable, hiring police chiefs that are going to be fair on both sides, making sure your prosecutors, your district attorney is going to be fair on both sides, asking those tough questions. Also, voting, making sure your judges are going to be fair on both sides. You can't sit on the sidelines anymore.
No, you definitely can't. I mean, because when I was down there on death row, too many of them guys looked like me and looked brown. And it told me that when I got out, I had to do something about it, which is why I've crisscrossed the globe trying to educate people about our criminal justice system and its need for reform. You cannot afford to stay on the sideline and let somebody else do it, because those that we have been letting do it got us in this position today. So it is a must that you get involved.
Thank you. So, and also in your case, tell us about the other guy whose wife was threatened not to testify.
Yeah, and so...
Or he had to choose between you and his wife.
So when the guy lied on me and they
What's his
arrested
name
me,
again?
his name was Robert Carter. And when he lied on me, they arrested him and they came and arrested me. Well, they had no evidence. And at this time, by the time Carter was going to the grand jury, and he went and told him Anthony Graves didn't have nothing to do with this.
Oh, he told the grand jury that?
He told the grand jury that. Under oath. First time under oath. He told the grand jury. Well, sensing that Carter was not going to cooperate, they went and indicted his wife on capital murder charges, arrested her, put her in jail. She stayed in jail about 2 months. Wow. All right? Saying that she had something to do with the crime. By the time we get to the trial, they tell Mr. Carter, you testify against Mr. Graves, we dropping the charges against your wife. Or if you don't, we're going to go after your wife. So he said he felt like he was between a rock and a hard place. He know that Mr. Graves was innocent, but Mr. Graves been in jail for 2.5 years. So if he don't go ahead and testify against Mr. Graves, then he know they're gonna put his wife back in jail. So he said, well, I did the worst, I did the less of the two evils. I knew that Mr. Graves had kids, had their mother out there, but if I didn't testify, my kid wouldn't have his mother or father. So I went ahead on and lied on Mr. Graves to save my wife. All right, that's how that happened. They threatened this man with prosecuting his wife should he not continue to lie on Mr. Graves.
They had no evidence on his wife.
They had absolutely, when a court-appointed attorney was hired to represent her after I got my reversal, he said to her, well, I'm finna go pull your records, see what they have.
On her.
On her. When this man came back, according to what he was white as a ghost. Because he said when he opened up the file, only thing they had was her name on a piece of paper. That's it. No evidence, no nothing to say she did anything.
And remember, viewers, the prosecutor who did this, what happened to the prosecutor who did this to you?
Well, the prosecutor who did this, nothing that's happened to him up to this point. But
he didn't become a judge, did he?
No, he didn't become a judge. He eventually retired. He had been the prosecutor like over 25 years in that county.
So he was the elected prosecutor.
He was the elected prosecutor. So he ended up retiring. He got prosecutor of the year when he convicted me. He retired with glory until Senate Bill 825 was passed by our legislature.
And when did that happen?
Senate Bill 825 passed this year at the beginning. And what that does now is it allows an exonerated inmate up to 4 years to come back and file a grievance if there was any type of misconduct on behalf of law enforcement, prosecutor, etc. So being that the Fifth Circuit, the most conservative court in our nation, gave me a 3-0 vote, said that this was egregious prosecutorial misconduct. That opened up the door for me, once I was exonerated, to go back and file under this new bill against this prosecutor. So right now, I'm waiting on the commission to determine if that's just cause to disbar him. Okay, they have 2 months to respond, June the 2nd.
And how old is he? He's probably not even practicing anymore.
He's not even practicing anymore. He's in his probably late 70s, early 70s, something like that. So
he ought to go to jail.
He should go to jail. He should do 18 years, because I had to do 18 years. And he should be made to pay restitution.
But remember, we're in a criminal justice system that's going to be on his side. They're not going to want him to go to jail. So just to aggrieve him would be to take his bar card. But if he's already retired in 72, he can surrender his bar card.
And yes.
But he should. But he should. He should voluntarily surrender.
And he's not. He's defiant.
I bet he's still saying that you're guilty.
He's defiant. Why? You know why he can say it? Nothing's going to happen to him.
Nothing's going to happen to him. And he doesn't care about you.
And he doesn't care about me. You know, his history is a racist past.
Right.
So he don't care nothing about me. So he can go around, he can walk the street saying Anthony Graves is guilty all he wants. Who's going to do something to him?
Nobody.
You know, we don't have a law that can do anything to him at this point.
Right.
You know, so I'm hoping.
So hush, hush, behind closed doors, everybody in his community or his friends are going to say, well, you know, he probably still was innocent. I mean, guilty. He probably, if he didn't do that, he did something else.
That's right.
That's what they're going to say about him. And everybody watching is mad because I'm saying that if they don't look like me, but you know that that's what's going to be said.
Of course. You know, I mean, look.
He would never be man enough to say, I didn't do it. I did wrong and I should have done it.
Because number one, this is a young black man he don't care anything about. Number two, there are no consequences for what he did. So why should he admit to any wrongdoing?
Right.
You know, he went in knowing he was doing wrong. So why all of a sudden now he won't admit to it? And what's his name? His name is Charles Sebestas.
How do you spell that?
Sebestas.
Sebesta. And he was the elected DA.
He was the elected DA in Washington and Burleson County. He ran them counties for over 25 years. And I tell you, blacks and Hispanics that were between the ages of, say, 16 to 35 was in prison, parole, on probation behind this district attorney.
That's awful.
Yes, it's awful. But I'm hoping that the commission will finally stand up against this type of misconduct and make Charles Sebestas an example. You know, because I tell people when I talk, I'm not out to get prosecutors. I'm out to get bad prosecutors so that good prosecutors can seek justice again.
Right. cheating, lying prosecutors.
Yes.
And the good thing is your case comes at a time also with Michael Morton, who did more time than you.
He did 25 years.
25 years. So I'm sure with both of you using Senate Bill 825 to grieve the prosecutors, that gives a little bit more two faces behind egregious misbehavior by prosecutors.
You know, and I think it is having an impact because I was reading a case the other day in the Houston Chronicle. This young man named Alfred Brown, who's innocent down there, and Lisa Falkenberg just wrote the story the other day, where the guy had been telling him that he had called his girlfriend from a certain place. That shows he's innocent, and they hid the telephone log all these years, and they just found it the other day. So the prosecutors say, oh, well, we didn't know we had this, but we want to turn it over. And then they asked the judge to reverse the case because of this. And then the judge agreed, and then they sent it to the Court of Criminal Appeals asking for this case to be reversed. And it's been a year, and the Court of Criminal Appeals haven't done anything. And they saying this man is highly likely innocent.
And it's a capital case.
And it's a capital case, and the Court of Criminal Appeals is sitting on it. And they asked that this man get a new trial.
And I know a little about it just from being in the courthouse. I didn't read the article, but that tape was actually in the police officer's garage.
Yes,
He still had it.
in his garage.
In his garage. And I know it. And the police officer is the husband of a current chief prosecutor that puts people on death row.
Wow.
I know everybody's name.
Wow.
Right.
And this kid is.
I mean, luckily he was honest enough to say he had it in his garage.
Well, it's because of Senate Bill 825. Because had we found it, someone found it before he turned it over, he can be grieved. That's misconduct.
But just think about this: if it was in his garage, he could have thrown it in the trash.
Oh yes, he
so
could have thrown it in the trash.
I'm admiring his at least being honest enough to because I think it was a big New York law firm that took this case
Philadelphia.
on Philadelphia
Yes.
pro bono. I was actually in the courthouse last year when those lawyers told one of the lawyers that tried the case, the Philadelphia lawyers told one of the court lawyers that tried the case what happened. And I was listening to it. I was amazed. And I knew the parties. I mean, I know the prosecutor, and I know of her husband. I've seen him in trial once. And he actually came forward and said it, because I believe most officers would have thrown it in the trash.
Of course.
But the thing is, why did he have evidence at his house?
That's what I'm saying. I think
That
that
just
he
shows
just forgot to get rid of it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I think, because why
Yeah,
would you
just
take it to your home?
probably turned the box over of all the
Yes.
evidence, and it just happened to be in
It
there.
just happened to be in there.
And his excuse was a prosecutor never asked him to bring it. Well, turn everything over. The prosecutor needs everything you do in
It's
your investigation
exculpatory.
needs to go, whether it's exculpatory or inculpatory.
Yes.
All of that needs to go to the prosecutor to
Make a determination.
prosecute the case.
Yes, exactly.
All the evidence. You don't decide, I'm only going to give them parts of the case. You give it all to them and let them look at it.
Now, is this police officer going to be grieved, even though he came forward? This man is on death row.
And he's still a police officer.
And he's still a police officer.
And his wife is younger than me.
Wow.
So she'll probably be down there another 20 years.
That's
Him
our
too.
system.
And him too.
That is our system. That is why there's such a need for criminal justice reform, because our system is designed to fail us all the time.
I trust that since the officer turned it in, that he will be honest in the future. Another thing about our officers, though, is they don't live in Harris County. They live in
Right.
Brazoria County.
Yes.
So even though they work for HPD, Houston Police Officer, I think our officers need to live in the city.
Of
I just
course.
have a problem with the fact that they can go and live in another county, be anonymous, deal with all this stuff in Houston, the city of Houston, and then they go home to Conroe, Montgomery County, or Pearland, Brazoria County. I just think that we should try to hire people from our own community.
Right. People who would understand.
Who understand, who care.
Yes.
People know where they live so they can respect them if they're doing right.
Yes, yes. But that sounds too much like right.
That sounds too much like right.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that although I think the Michael Morton Act, which is telling the prosecutor to give us everything, remember the prosecutors are just giving the defense lawyers what the cops have given them. I think that I haven't read the whole act, but I think it should go further. It should be on the police officers too. It should be telling the police officers to give everything to the prosecutors, so the prosecutors can give everything to us. But what if the officer didn't give it to the
Well,
prosecutor?
the bill come up short, in my view, okay? Because it was nothing but a mirror of the Brady bill that we already have.
Right, which
Okay.
is 1968 or 64.
Yes.
But I think that next time you talk to Michael Morton, talk about that case. I mean, we need to talk about the Alfred Brown case, because I don't know if that law is strong enough to make sure to put the burden on the police officer.
It's not. It's not. Look, that law still doesn't demand that the prosecutor turns over everything, because the prosecutor can still claim work product.
Right.
Okay? If he claiming work product, then it's not exculpatory.
Exactly.
But it can definitely be exculpatory.
And a lot of things that they still have is work product closed up, or where victims or wives or girlfriends are saying he really didn't do that.
That's
to me.
right.
They're actually showing exculpatory evidence, which exculpatory evidence is evidence that tends to prove that you're innocent. Okay, so say, for example, Anthony and I are married, and I say he beat me up. Call the police on him. But I know he's had some trouble before, so I can get him out of the house. Maybe really, in reality, we're both drunk. He has a girlfriend. I just want to get him arrested because I'm mad. I tell the police he hit me. There's no marks, but they're going to take him to jail just to stop the situation. And then 2 weeks later, I go down to the DA's office and tell the truth. I'm like, look, DA, I was drunk. I lied. He really has a girlfriend. Or I was too drunk to remember exactly what happened. So no bruises ever showed up a couple of days later. Maybe I really kind of fell. That tends to show that he might be innocent. That's evidence that they should turn over to us. But a lot of times what the prosecutors are doing is they're writing that down with what I would have said, and then they put it in an envelope and they seal it. They close it up, they lick it, they seal it, and put on their work product. So when we look at the files, the defense lawyer looks at the file, we know that we cannot open anything that's work product. But a lot of times it's actually exculpatory evidence that tends to show that he's not guilty, or at least evidence that the defense has a right to have, because our job is to investigate. So if she did make two different statements, one the night Anthony was arrested and another statement when she came in, certainly as a defense lawyer, I need to have both of them so I can question her about both of them, find out, did you just lie and say he didn't do it because you're scared of him and now y'all are back together, so you need his money? Or were you really drunk and mad and sending him to jail because you know the cops hate him because they know that he's beat a case before? You know, I can actually try to evaluate it myself, so I'll know what to do.
Yes.
So that's why I need it.
Yes, but with that bill, it doesn't turn over that evidence. Okay, that's work product. But if the bill would have said all evidence, not just exculpatory, let the court decide what's exculpatory.
Or the defense lawyer.
Or the defense lawyer. Let's have a powwow. Let the defense and prosecutor have a powwow over the evidence. Let's see what's really exculpatory, what's not exculpatory. More times than not, work product in some kind of way becomes exculpatory, and it becomes the key linchpin in the case.
It does. It does.
But yet we have laws that says, and under the Michael Moore Act and all that you can't get that.
And the thing that's so sad is that we have to legislate what's right.
Yes.
That's what's so sad, is that prosecutors are taught to convict when they shouldn't. They should be trying to seek the truth so fast that they'll do anything to get a conviction or to be afraid of what's considered a good defense lawyer. The truth should be there. Like you said, there should be a powwow. There should be a meeting that's required of all sides, the defense, the prosecution, the police officer, go through all the evidence that's there so that we can make an informed decision.
So we can get to the truth. That's all we want to get to is the truth.
Because 90% of our people plead guilty in some kind of plea anyway. So let's get to the truth. So if they're guilty...
Oh, that's just a whole nother... because we got a plea bargain system.
We do.
Okay? People are afraid to go up there and fight for themselves.
And you know what's sad about it, Anthony, is that, you know, I'm older than you, but in the day that I grew up, and maybe I was naive, but the police and the justice system was not overworked, and it wasn't this many people in the justice system because they really just arrested bad kids.
Yeah.
You could smoke a joint, they throw it away if the cops found it. You could drink a beer when you shouldn't have when you were underage, they throw it away. If you were selling heroin, or if you were robbing people, that's the kids that they took to jail.
Right.
Right. But now we take everybody to jail.
Because we figured out how to make money off of it.
And that's what's so sad about it.
We got private prisons and all that now.
That's what's so sad about it.
So we're human chattel now.
Right.
Okay. They know how to make money off our criminal justice system now. Put them down there and let them work for free. And you can pick our cotton. You can pick these peas out of, and we sell all this stuff. And we make a lot of money, and then we give them whatever. Food so bad that their health decline. Okay, that when they come out, for example, with me, when I came out, I hadn't really been to a doctor 18 and a half years, and I come out and that guy told me, he said, you know what, you are lucky. You got so much plaque in your vein that you're threatening a heart attack, or aneurysm, or anything. Okay, I had over 13% plaque in my veins because of the bad food that they was feeding me down there. You know, see, that's just a whole nother issue.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad all the way around. And the thing about our prison system, what I be trying to tell people is that, look, the way we have this thing designed now, guys that we're sending down there are coming back with more baggage than they were when they left, and that threatens our community.
It does.
You know, so the prison system has become a foe against the community because they're sending out bad people. They're not doing what they're supposed to do, which is to rehabilitate these people, make sure they can come out and have a chance of being productive. That's just out the window with making money. It's bad, and that's why we cannot afford to stay on the sidelines anymore. That's why I've taken my own money and created this foundation to help our kids steer them from the pipeline. One of the things I'm really high on is educating our kids about our justice system and what to do when you come in contact with police officers, because more time than not, at-risk youth children are the ones that come in contact with law enforcement. What I realized is when it happened to me, I didn't know nothing about how to defend my rights. I didn't know to keep my mouth shut until I got an attorney, regardless of the fact that I was innocent. I just wanted to tell them the truth, and it worked against me. People need to know how to deal with law enforcement respectfully when it happens to them. And that's one of the things I'm really high on, is educating our youth about how to deal with a situation like that, so that you don't end up being Trayvon Martin. Okay, so that you don't end up getting 100 years because they're saying you sit there and try to harm an officer. And all you was trying to do was turn around and ask the question because you didn't know what was going on. And then he beat you and said you tried to do something to him.
Right.
People don't know these things. And that's why I'm so high on educating our youth about our criminal justice system and the need to have the certain kind of respect so that you don't get in a situation that's too far over your head. And that is, look, when an officer approaches you, you have to have enough respect for this officer that you don't make him feel threatened. That's number one. Because they're easy threatened, because most of the time, those were the cowards at school that come out and got a gun so they can get back at those who bothered them when they was kids. You can't approach the situation hostile because you may be innocent and you upset that they done stop you. You got to have your wits about yourself. He has the gun. He has the keys. You need to just be respectful, ask for you an attorney, keep your mouth shut, and let the process begin. That's all you have to do. All that, man, why you doing me? No, don't do that. That gives them the green light to harm you and then put it on you. You got to be mindful. You got to be a little bit more sharper than them out there because they're killing us.
Well, we're getting the signal to wrap it up, so say something to wrap it up, and hopefully we can get Anthony Graves to come back, co-host the show, and tell us more about what he's learned of this 20 years in the criminal justice system. Of
course. You know, all I want to say, Anthony Graves Foundation, I've started this here because of what I went through. I went through the system from top to bottom, and I've seen all the failures. And I know that there are some important programs that needs to be in place out here that, number one, steer our kids from this prison pipeline. But number two, fight this beast that's in that courtroom that's really harming us, and that's the injustice. So I started my program by getting involved with cases at the initial stage of the arrest. I want to protect key witnesses, and also I've started a mentorship program for these kids. I want to feed them in the evening so that they don't have to go to bed hungry at night, feel a need to go out and steal somebody's purse because they're hungry, because I feel like through their stomachs I can get to their minds and educate them about the things they need to know out here. All right, we got to wrap it up. We'll continue in about a month when we can see if we can get Anthony to come back and share some more words of wisdom. Good night, and please watch Truth and Justice with Vivian King next Wednesday. Good night. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate.